Hi, Richard Louie in for Tamron Hall. The News Nation is following breaking news this hour for you. A scary moment on an American Airlines flight from Dallas-Fort Worth bound for Chicago. Passengers say a flight attendant was ranting over the PA system about 9/11 and how the plane was going to crash as it was leaving the gate. Let's go straight to NBC's Pete Williams, joining us now from Washington, D.C. Pete, what do we know right now about that flight and the flight attendant?
We talked to several passengers who were on that flight, Richard. It was delayed. It eventually did take off from Dallas and landed in Chicago. When our folks there talked to several of the passengers, what they say is that the plane had just pulled back from the gate and was slowly taxiing toward the runway when the flight attendant came on and said that we're not taking off, we have technical difficulties, and we're going back to the gate. Then another flight attendant came on the PA system and said, oh, yes, we are taking off, buckle up. But that the first flight attendant, which some of the passenger thinks was the one in charge, the lead flight attendant, kept talking. She said, Captain, I'm not going to be responsible for crashing this plane. She talked about 9/11. She talked about hazards. She talked about worries that the plane might not make it. Eventually, she kept talking, and according to passengers, 4 or 5 of the passengers, some of them in first class, which is where near the lead flight attendant would be on the PA system just when you get through the door, subdued her. The police were called. She was taken away. The airline says 2 flight attendants were taken to the hospital for treatment. A new crew was brought in, and then the plane went on to Chicago.
Pete, what do we know about the passengers? I think that plane, that MD-80, can carry about, 130, 140. Did they also get onto their way to make it to Chicago in the end, or did some stay back?
Some did stay. Some got off the plane and tried to make other arrangements because the flight was going to be delayed, obviously. If they were making connections, they had to try to think of other things to do. And it wasn't at all clear at the beginning what was going to happen to that flight. So there was a bit of confusion there. But according to the passengers, there wasn't widespread, screaming in the plane. There were some young children who were worried, but they say for the most part, people were keeping their cool.
Yeah, and the tweets were really what we saw first in terms of what they were thinking. Pete Williams, thank you so much.
You bet.